So this lesson is going to be lesson 5, and it's going to be on the short story The Lottery by Jackson. Here we'll be focusing on elements of irony, themes, and modern day connections, as well as suspense. So this song is usually one that is used to help teach the concept of irony. So take a look at the words and look at what are the ironic statements.
An old man turned 98. He won the lottery, died the next day. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. It's a death row pardon, 2 minutes too late. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain. Was afraid to fly. He packed his suitcase, kissed his kids goodbye. He waited his whole damn life to take that flight. As the plane crashed down, he thought, well, isn't this nice? And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? It's like rain. Traffic jam when you're already late. No smoking sign on your cigarette break. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. It's meeting the man of my dreams and then meeting his beautiful wife. And isn't it ironic? Don't you think? A little too ironic. Yeah, I really do think it's like rain. And yeah, life is a funny way, sneaking up on you. Life is a funny, funny way of helping you out, helping you out.
So as you can see, that song, it was Alanis Morissette's song. She's a Canadian music artist. Helps to show a lot of ironic statements, things that you wouldn't expect to happen. So in your notes that you have, in your short story notes, I'd like you to take notes on the different types of irony. This video is going to describe the 3 different types of irony: situational, verbal, and dramatic irony. And you should be able to know a point about each of them, and it provides examples, okay, as well. So verbal, situational, and dramatic.
Oh, irony.
Sorry.
Irony. 3 kinds of irony. What is irony? Irony deals with expectations. Irony is the opposite of what is expected. There are 3 kinds of irony: verbal, dramatic, and situational. I will discuss each one of these. Verbal irony. This is when a character or a person says one thing but means the complete opposite. People also know this as being sarcastic or using sarcasm. For example, the locker room smells really good. Or, awesome, another homework packet? Dramatic irony is when the reader understands more about the events of a story than a character, or the character understands the events to be one way, and the reader knows them to be the complete opposite. For example, everyone in school thinks that Tim is the fastest kid, but we know that he cheated in the race. He took a shortcut. So everyone thinks he's fast, but we know he's just an average speed kid, and people challenge him and confront him, and he squirms around with the anxiety of having to lie. But we know, in fact, that he's not actually fast. He cheated in the race. Or perhaps there's a movie where a girl coaches a guy on how to get a girl, and it's a love triangle. So Amanda likes Jake, and Jake likes another girl. So Amanda shows him how to get the girl, but the whole time she likes him, and we know that. But he understands things to be completely opposite in that they are just friends. But there's all sorts of devices that go that go along with this. So this is common in television shows. You'll see dramatic irony being used to great effect. Situational irony is generally what people are referring to when they just say irony or that something is ironic, and it is when what actually happens or is the complete opposite of what is expected. Something about the situation goes in a way that's the exact opposite of what we expected. For example, let's say we have the survivors of a shipwreck huddled together on a life raft as a rescue plane flies overhead. They shoot a flare gun to get the attention of the pilot, and they hit the plane, and the plane crashes. So in this case, we expect that the flare gun would bring them to safety when, in fact, it condemns them to death. Another example would be if I'm going to give a person chicken noodle soup because they are sick, I intend the chicken noodle soup makes them feel better, but maybe I improperly prepare the chicken and they get sicker because of salmonella. And in this case, that is also ironic. We expect that the chicken noodle soup would make them feel better when the exact opposite occurs. In review, something that is ironic is unexpected. It's more than unexpected. It's the complete opposite of what we expect. So if a character understands things to be one way, but we know it's the complete opposite, is considered dramatic irony. If everyone's surprised by the outcome of the event, no one expected what occurred, it's the exact opposite of what we did expect, and we call that situational irony. And lastly, if someone's being sarcastic, if they say one thing but they mean the complete opposite, then that is called verbal irony.
Okay, so those are the 3 different types of irony.
Irony.
Pause that.
3 kinds of irony.
That again. There we go. Okay, the next element, I've got 2 videos to show. I'm going to show this one on theme. I like this one better. I think I have both of them posted in the digital binder, so you can go and look at it. Many students sometimes have trouble identifying what a theme is in a story or in a movie or whatnot. So this guy really presents a good example of the difference between subjects, which we're used to seeing more basic level, elementary level, that we think are themes, are really just subjects. And he presents an idea that really shows you how to come up with a thematic statement. Your theme should sound like his themes and the thematic statements.
What's the theme? You don't know what a theme is? Your 5th grade teacher ain't taught you nothing? We're going to talk about what a theme is. Yo, Derek here, and today is all about themes. So if you're a little hazy on the whole what is a theme thing, stay tuned because I'm going to confuse the hell out of you. Totally kidding. I wouldn't do that to you guys. I love you guys. So I guess we should probably start with what is a theme? Maybe? Definition. Theme. A central idea in a piece of writing or other work of art. You can think of it as the meaning, the life lesson, or the moral of the story. Themes don't have character names and plot details in them. When we're talking about themes, we're talking about a universal concept that is much bigger than the characters or the story that you create. These abstract ideas or observations can be applied to, well, everybody. Me, me, you, this guy. Well, maybe not that guy. But theme is more or less the writer or filmmaker's message to the audience. Any good film or screenplay can have many themes. Some themes are insanely obvious and others are more subtle. For example, you could say that a theme for Finding Nemo is through friendship you can overcome your fears and insecurities. Doesn't have a character, doesn't mention any plot points, and it's a universal concept. Can be applied to me, you, or this guy. What theme isn't? Well, a theme is not communicated in one word. It's about love, friendship, family. These aren't really themes, they're just subjects or topics. However, you can use the subject to help you find a theme. Themes are observations, opinions, or ideas about the subject of a movie. For example, the subject of a movie could be revenge, but the theme could be revenge destroys everything and everyone, including the person seeking. How do you find a theme? Well, there are a few different ways. Let's talk about that. 1. Look at your protagonist's journey. How does your main character change throughout the course of the story? What do they learn? If you substitute your main character for, say, all of mankind, then your protagonist's journey and how they change can be a theme. For example, in Iron Man, Tony Stark begins the film as a naive war profiteer, but over the course of the film, he realizes the destructive impact of his actions and takes full responsibility for them. So based on his character arc, you could say that a theme is, we must all take responsibility for our own actions because at the end of the day, nobody else will. And another theme could be, no matter how many mistakes you've made, it's never too late to set things right. 2. Look at the central conflict of the story. What are the opposing forces? Which one wins? And if so, why? And by forces, I mean the more abstract, generalized definition. For example, in The Terminator, the two opposing forces are man and machine. You could say that the theme is, no matter how advanced our creations become, they can never replace the human spirit. Arnold Schwarzenegger was all swole up with his, metal skeleton and everything, but we still won. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I love you, bro, but you lost. Machines took an L. 3. Sometimes a character can just flat out state a theme of the movie. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. For example, in The Incredibles, just before Bob tries to fight the Omnibot alone at the climax, his wife Helen says this: I'm asking you to wait with the kids.
And I'm telling you, not a chance. You're my husband, I'm with you. For better or worse, if we work together, you won't have to be.
So if you've seen the movie, you understand that Bob has had trouble embracing this whole marriage/family thing, and his wife Helen is pretty much outright flat saying, if we work together, we can conquer anything. Thing? With family and marital unity, anything is possible. Boom! That was actually kind of good. I like the way I worded that. I'm going to write that one down. No. You want to avoid being too vague or obvious with your themes. For example, family is awesome. Love is blind. Love conquers all. Friendship is important. Yeah, I'm just not digging those. There's more. It's worth mentioning that themes can be horribly subjective. 2 different people can read the same script or watch the same movie and walk away with 2 completely different themes. Sometimes a film can have conflicting themes, or sometimes people can see themes in a piece of work or film that the filmmaker outright rejects or didn't intend to be there. Somebody could easily think that the theme for Man of Steel is never trust freaking aliens. Hey, it's subjective. He wouldn't be wrong. The general rule of thumb is, if you see it, you own it. We bring our own life experiences into the scripts that we read and the films that we watch. The way that we interpret the meaning of what we see is also informed by our own life experiences. As a result, people will inherently see different messages and meanings. So whatever themes you see, they're absolutely true for you. Now, of course, all the examples that I used earlier are all based on my own subjective experience. So, which means you gotta come up with your own theme, fool. So how does this affect my writing? You'll find that when you're writing your own work, the same themes keep popping up, whether you intend for it or not. You'll naturally sort of gravitate to certain topics or subject matters. It could possibly, maybe, more than likely, probably leaning more towards sure, almost 100% sure, definitely, probably mean that these things are important to you on a subconscious level. I noticed in my own work, I always tend towards the exploration of pain. My characters are always dealing with a lot of I don't know what it is about it. I just, when I start writing, I always end up writing about that in some form or another. As a writer, try not to force a theme. Oftentimes, when you're working on a project and you get but so far into the writing process, a theme just sort of rises to the surface that had probably been laying dormant in the back of your mind somewhere. It seems to work best that way anyway. Some people like to start writing with a loose theme in mind. Some people don't think about theme at all, and as they write, if a theme pops up, great. If not, Great. Do you think about theme before you go into the project, or do you just kind of let it surface as you're working? Are you a big themer, or are you not a big themer? That's not even a word. So get in the comment box and let me know what you think. Well, that's all I got for you. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, subscribe. You can find me on the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or the Twitter, baby. You can also check them.
There we go. So he does a great example of presenting how to understand themes. Okay. We're going to be listening to the story The Lottery in just a bit, but I'd like to continue with a bit of the lessons here. Okay.
The lottery.
Okay, so major literary devices in the lottery. So foreshadowing. Bobby Martin had already stuffed his pockets full of stones, and other boys soon followed his example, selecting the smoothest and roundest stones. So the children, that is helping to show foreshadowing element. Why are they collecting stones? Children came reluctantly. Well, why were they coming reluctantly? The theme of tradition is shown in this story. There had been also a ritual salute, which the official of the lottery had to use in addressing each person who came up to draw from the box, but it also had changed with time. Until now, it was felt necessary only for the official to speak to each person approaching. So it's something that they have done, it's been a tradition. Suspense is shown through for a minute. No one moved, and then all slips of paper were opened. So we want to know what's going to happen with those slips of paper. Then a theme that's shown in this story is fate and fortune. It can be ironic. And he dropped all the paper, but those onto the ground, where the breeze caught them and lifted them off. Repetition. There's always a reference to everyone could see it was blank. It was blank. It was blank, is repeated throughout the story. Symbolism. The black dot clearly has a symbol. It symbolizes death, suspense, misfortune, and irony. Anticipation is seen through the phrase, "Come on," she said, "hurry up." Well, where are we hurrying to? Irony is shown. "It isn't fair," she said. A stone hit her on the side of the head. Old Man Warner was saying, come on, everyone." So the ironic part of the ending of the story, where we would not expect what happened to her. The lottery usually is a great connection to show with the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games shows that concept of tradition and how tradition is going to be taken too far. So even in today's society, we see a lot of traditions that can be taken so far. In history, we looked at the biblical and historical stoning of people. We also had sorority groups and fraternity groups that do different initiation rituals that can lead to people dying and being hurt or being humiliated. Okay. We're also going to look at the element of suspense.
Most stories are set up in exactly the same way. The novel opens with scenes designed to describe the setting and the characters. The reader must be able to understand the characters, their personalities, and their motives. Then the story moves into the rising action, the part where the plot thickens. If the author has done his job, the reader is so intrigued with what will happen to the characters that he can in no way stop reading. The author builds more and more suspense to keep the reader's interest. Suspense is a feeling of anxiety or anticipation. In literature, authors use that anxiety to make readers concerned about characters with whom they have formed sympathetic attachments. In this way, authors can create scenarios that force readers to continue in order to understand or see what may happen to their beloved characters. Suspense ensures the reader will have enough interest to continue reading throughout the piece. If the author has done his job, suspense will continue to increase up until the climax, or the final confrontation and turning point. There are many techniques authors can use to create this buildup of suspense. For example, in Edgar Rice Burroughs' novel Tarzan of the Apes, suspense is built through verbal cues. In the novel, the jungle man Tarzan falls in love with Jane. Then, Jane is carried off by a brutal gorilla. Jane then asks, how can any vanquish such a mighty antagonist? This question implies to the reader how strong an opponent the gorilla is and what little chance Tarzan has of defeating him. In this way, suspense for Tarzan's life is created, thus pushing the reader to read on in order to see what might happen to Tarzan and Jane. Another way an author can create suspense is using a form of dramatic irony. Dramatic irony occurs when the audience or reader knows something that the characters do not know. A great example of dramatic irony used to create suspense occurs in Shakespeare's play Othello. In this play, the malevolent Iago is jealous of Othello and determines to destroy him by convincing him his wife has been unfaithful.
Okay, so you've got examples there of suspense as well. Okay, so that wraps up our lottery lesson for today.